Right, hi guys. This are the flies that we tied at the demonstration on Thursday, which I unfortunately admitted to record. So this is my attempt at making amends and tying the flies that we tied on Thursday for you. So to kick off, we're going to try the parachute black gnat, which is sort of fairly basic pattern with the addition of the parachute hackle, and I'm going to be tying it on a size 14. I think the pattern that we did on the Thursday was a size 12, but I think looking at it, the length of the hackle could do with being just that little bit longer, so we'll decrease the hook size. So this is the same size, same style of hook, which is the BHC 102, which is just a robust heavyweight, if you like to call it, dry fly hook from the Bubbles Hook Company. So just a little bit of dab of super glue just to secure the thread on the hook, so that's bound down all the way to the start of the bend. Just remove that surplus, and we're going to be tying in the black cockhackle fibres, and this is a dyed black, unlike the one we tied on on Thursday, which was a natural black, and it came out sort of fairly brown on the camera. So just pulling some fibres off of the stem, aligning the tips, and then offering them up to about the length of the shank. Pinch and loop, just check the position. Let's pull that just a little bit, and then I'll bind those down to tidy them up. Remove the waste, and then bring the thread back to the tail. And then the body on this is I'm just going to be using a black dubbing. I'm just using bug dub, which is hares, fur and SLF. It's got a little bit of sparkle in it, and easy enough to dub, spiky enough to give the effects of legs if you wanted to have it a bit spiky. What I do is put a reasonable amount on there and just take a first turn, which traps the fibres, and then we can then tighten everything up. So I want to try and get quite a slimish body, tapering, so I shall wind up and tighten as I go, just increasing the diameter to try and get a little bit of taper on it. Bring that just over 2/3 of the length of the body, the length of the hook shank rather, and then just pull off that excess if it is a bit too spiky, just remove any of the bits you don't want. Superfine dubbing will give you a much neater body, but it's not as spiky. Right, so the next material to tie in is the wing, which in this case was the Antron, not yes, sorry, Antron, yes. Just the, I don't know if that's siliconized, but it's quite a buoyant material, and it's got that useful little crease on it where the carding has created it, which gives you a little bit of a part point to tie in, and then binding front and back, get it as compact as possible, and then we're just going to be winding round the base of the post to stiffen it up, so that this creates the post in which we can wind our hackle eventually. So they're coming up about 2mm, I suppose. That's a little bit more, because you've only got a single hackle to put on here, and it just depends on how many turns of hackle you want as to how big you need the post. If you're stripping the hackle off of one side, hackle fibres off of one side of the hackle, then you need to have a slightly taller post. I think that almost probably do. So we're just going to bring the thread back, and then we need to take our hackle, which in this case is coming from a selected size 14 small bunch of hackles, and right, there's been a jump in the video because I had to have a break. So we're in the process of tying in the hackle stalk, which is a genetic saddle hackle, and what I've got to do is to have the good side, slight concave side facing away from me. So there's a glossy side and a matte side. So the glossy side is to me, so I'm going to remove a few fibres from the right hand side, more than on the left hand side, and then we'll be able to tie the hackle stalk in a position so that the left hand side is just about level with the top of the stem, and then we're going to trap that in, and then if you want, double back just to make sure that that hackle stalk is secure. Now this is a very fine hackle stalk, so it's easy enough to do that, and then we've then got to bind down, or bind up to the top of the stem and then back down again. It looks like that hackle has slipped a bit because I've got too many fibres showing on that side. So when we've got that hackle tied in, then we just need to add a touch more dubbing to cover the thorax, and I'm going to take my thread through to the the eye position. And just grab a small quantity. And then bind down towards the post and turn underneath, and then leave the thread hanging at the back, and just remove any of those fibres there. And then we need to turn the hook in the vise, bring it into the vertical position so that to facilitate the winding of the hackle, which we're doing. Well, I'm doing it with my left hand so that I can hold the post with my right hand to keep it stiff, so that the turns are a lot more secure. So each successive turn has to be below the previous turn. So that's 4 turns. Don't want to get too much more than that, otherwise it tends to get distorted. So I think we're okay there, and then I'm going to take 2 turns in front of the hackle stalk and 1 turn behind, and if you're careful you won't track too many fibres. And now we can revert that back. No, we can't. We got to do the whip finish. So we can either whip finish with that stalk in place, or we can cut it off. And I'm just going to use a scalpel to trim that so it doesn't cut any fibres. And then we're just taking the whip finish right at the base of the feather, trying to avoid catching in too many fibres. And then I'm just using a hook to slip that down so I can guide it in without trapping any fibres. And then I'm using a slightly thinned version of Sally Hansen to put it on the thread, do a final 3-turn whip finish, which will secure the thread. And there we go, and just easing it down, and then remove the waste, bring it back up. So just pull the 2 posts apart just to push the hackle down a little bit, and then we can trim the post, trim it longer than you think you might need it, because you can always trim it slightly less when you're fishing with it. So a few odd fibres of dubbing beneath, and a couple of trapped hackle fibres. And there you go. That's the parachute black gnat. And we'll continue with the parachute Adams in the next video.